And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
I don't want to be number 3.
We're Team 2 Box. We're all number 2.
Yeah, we're all number 2.
Let's go.
Oh, no. That means we're all shitty.
No, we're the shit. It's different.
Oh, sorry.
We're shitting on them.
Ooh. As the kids say.
As the kids would say. Stop. You always be making me sound like such a mom. I don't be trying to, you know?
You do. Your mom be shining through.
I don't know how to fix it.
You just got to remember back when you didn't have children.
Exactly.
Dude,
just think back.
All of 3 years before I was 18. I was like, I had that baby.
Simpler times.
They were children.
Times.
He was at my sweet 16. 2 years later, he's like, I'm a mom. What's up?
They are what we grow beyond, you know what I'm saying? Well, I think that's what Yoda says. Because you are listening to And Are You Okay? A Star Wars podcast.
Star Wars podcast.
Thank you, Matt. I was waiting for that one. After last week. I have PTSD after last week.
So does several members of the Amnesty Committee or Amnesty Program, but we'll get there.
No, we will get there. We will get there.
They all have
before
PTSD.
we do, I have to.
I have thoughts.
Oh, there's lots of thoughts to go around, I'm sure, as we discuss Mando 303, Chapter 19, The Convert. But before we do so, we have to introduce the great executive producer from Dragon Ball for Life, the person who helps us run everything in the background. She is the one, the only, the Yali, and I am so happy, all caps, to have her here on Annie, Are You Okay? You may have heard us talk before on Fandom Spotlight Reacts. Team 2 Box is bringing the box back.
We back, baby.
We scissoring in this bitch.
We're scissoring in this bitch. The 2 boxes are here. The first box might be an Imperial control unit. The other box might be Andor's vagina. I mean, Andor's sister's vagina. It could be your sister. Keep them out of the hoe houses. But we're here to discuss all things Star Wars.
A Star Wars podcast.
Yes, thank you, Matt. I'm just going to have to just roll through them every time because I don't think that this bit's going to go away anytime soon.
Y'all should have never let me get in like that.
Yali knows it. She listened to last week and she was like, I'm going to bring the energy that Siebes brings. He's not with us this week, but
I got you.
Shout out to the brother Siebes.
Part of the family. Glad to have you on board, Yali. We're this
Siebes
is part
is in the outer rim.
Siebes is in the outer. He's in them unknown regions.
Brokering peace.
We actually sent him to the Amnesty program because he needed to chill out a little.
He's gonna get those delicious yellow cookies and bring them back with us.
He backslid. He went through withdrawals.
The ration crackers or something like that. I can't even remember.
They're travel rations.
Travel rations.
There's yellow and red, and the yellow ones look like butter cookies. And I'm ready for Disney to sell them to me. So whenever they're ready.
I'm sure they will
giving
be popping
food
up in
stamps to me. I was like, look at them trying to make poverty cool. Look at Disney. Look at Disney trying to make us feel better about being broke.
That's really funny. People who can't afford meals when they go to Disney, they just get the ration crackers.
Look, I'm with it. That's what they are. I'm with it. Shit. You know they're going to be in Galaxy's Edge by 2 months from now.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm going to be eating it when I'm sitting in line for Rise of Resistance next time I'm there.
Yo, that'd be fucked up if going into that part of the park, you got to pay for a meal card. They bracelets. They feed people who paid for the meal bracelets. Everybody else gets the ration crackers.
Yeah, instead of a bracelet, it's just going to be the Amnesty badge.
Yeah, just the stripes.
Not the stripes.
Not the stripes. How do you telegraph you have no money for food at Disney? That.
Damn, Walt did. Never mind. I was about to make a Disney Holocaust joke. Never mind.
Don't.
Never mind.
Not close to Ramadan.
I was gonna say, Walt Disney would find a way to segregate the Jews.
Gosh.
Hey, I'm Jewish. I can say these things.
I
can say these things. Hold on. If people think I'm lying, just in case they think I'm lying, he's not Jewish. He's just saying.
I'm only 2% Jewish, so I don't think I'm allowed to say anything. I just get the one night of Hanukkah. That's it.
I can joke on the suffrage of.
Yeah, that's it.
I can joke on the suffrage of all my peoples. both sides.
It's a Star Wars podcast, in case you're wondering.
It's a Star Wars podcast.
We love you, Disney. Come get us.
Yeah, we're fans. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. So let's dive in here. Let's get into The Mandalorian, Chapter 19, The Convert. I do think that I like that they bookend this with the main the meat of what we really want to see, which is like Mando and Bo-Katan. But we get a very Andor-esque type middle, that really fleshes out the whole episode, and they're obviously building towards something, and we'll get into much of it. But before they leave Mandalore, I really want to talk about Bo-Katan's choice of wording after the events at the end of the last episode. Did that shock you guys? Do you think it's like... I really can't believe that she didn't say anything about the mythosaur. There was genuinely a part of me that was a little concerned that we weren't going to address it at all, and they didn't. So what are your guys' thoughts? How do you feel about Bo-Katan just kind of completely keeping that to herself? And then we obviously see that for the foreseeable future she's also been baptized in the living waters. What does this mean for her?
I think for her it's she might end up having to eat her words about the way and the children of the Watch or whatever they're called, children of the Watch, and I think she's gonna end up having to eat her words about it. But at the same time, she was just being uber depressed, and I feel like she just needed a friend, and now she's got them. But not mentioning the mythosaur, I feel like for her it's kind of a little bit of a confirmation, I'm supposed to rule all of this shit, but I can't tell Din because he'll tell somebody else, and then it's gonna be she doesn't want any she doesn't want no competition. She doesn't want to oppose anything. Last time that went down, it wasn't the best thing for her. So I think it's twofold. Not mentioning the mythosaur is to benefit her, but her new role in being a child of the Watch is now I think it's going to change how she feels about being a Mandalore and change how she feels about the things that happened before. But I think it's just going to give her a sense of family, which I don't think she really had, even when she had those two other Mandalorians hanging out with her. Those were just people who were there because they were getting paid. I don't think they really liked her that much. I will say is I do think that they're also going to try to use this as some sort of reason to ship them or give them chemistry, and I'm not really down for that. Grogu's doing fine with a single dad. He doesn't need a mom. We don't have to parent trap this or whatever.
Dad lives matter.
Just a single papa. Yeah. So I think she's still Bo-Katan. She's still clever. She's still trying to figure out how to always improve herself. And so I'm not mentioning it is to do that. But I like the way she played this. It's did you see anything when you didn't see it? Okay, well then never mind. If you didn't see anything, I didn't see anything, and then it's just her being clever. And I do want to know, does she still have the sword on her? I think that's the one thing I want to know. Does she have the saber on her?
Yeah, she gave it back.
She gave it back? Why? She won.
Because she didn't win it.
But she did.
I said that last week. Technically, the bug disarmed Din, and she disarmed the bug.
Yeah, she won.
By Harry Potter's logic.
Elder Wand. They Elder Wanded.
They Elder Wanded. But Yali, I'm definitely rolling. I'm afraid, though, and I think I said this either the first episode or the second episode, that we don't really know who the antagonist of the show is, and I really don't want it to be Bo-Katan. But I feel like her not bringing up the mythosaur, she is going to use that as justification to be oh, I am the chosen one. And I feel like that's why she was asking Din, yo, did you see anything? And he's like, nah. She was like, oh, it hid from you, but it showed itself to me. Like, I am the chosen one. I feel like she's going to use that as like justification to try to take over. And then, like you were talking about, Mikey, at the end, when she was kind of like, oh, I don't fuck with the zealot shit. And they was just like, nah, you one of us. You can leave if you want to, but you can stay if you want to. She was like, oh, I got friends again? Like when they were all touching her shoulder, you could tell, like, she's like, oh, damn, I've been alone for so long. Like,
there was a tear under that mask. You just can't see it.
It was fogging up. Her helmet was fogging up a little bit. But my fear is that she is going to try to use the Mythosaur sighting as a way to, like, I guess not betray Din, but like, be like, yo, come up off that sword, bro. Or like she'll say to the armorer, since the armorer is like so deep into the lore, like, yo, the Mythosaur said what's up to me. Like, what, don't that mean I'm the boss? Like, what's that mean? Like, explain that to me. But yeah, I think she might be the antagonist. I really hope she's not, but I feel like that her not saying nothing is gonna definitely come back to benefit her. Be like you said, be crafty.
I think that's fair.
But no, I don't want them relationship to ill.
I really like I don't have like a horse in the race, but I do feel like the narrative is pushing them together. And also, I know this is going to sound a little weird, but like I can't undo it. Like I work in marketing, and there's a poster that is like the dark sabers in between them, and on one half of it it's Mando, and on the other half it's Bo. And like I feel like they bathed in the waters at the same time. The narrative is pushing them together. But how Bo is reacting to all of these things, it's always convenient for her, right? So she will remain, I think, with the Children of the Watch as long as it's convenient for her. I don't think she's going to hesitate to take that helmet off as soon as she feels like I'm the rightful ruler of Mandalore. And it's going to cause a rift between her and everyone she gains trust with in between now and when that moment happens. And I think that that's what a lot of her story is going to be throughout the rest of the season. So I agree with you, Yali and Matt. Like, there's definitely like a lot of things going on where we can see her use that Mythosaur knowledge to her advantage, but she found a place of belonging that she hasn't had in a long time, and I think we're going to see that drastically affect her. And I also have a feeling that the growing respect between Bo and Din, whether it's platonic or romantic or not, I really have no read on it. They're wearing helmets, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it does feel like it's like maybe they're meant to rule together. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's what like the poster's trying to say. Maybe they're one half of the same whole. And I know that Matt brought up The Witcher last week as an example of like these two forces that are like so far apart, but are just like constantly being pulled towards this like one thing. You know, I think that Darksaber is kind of like attracting power in some ways, and whether that results in a good or bad thing, I think is yet to be determined. But I do think it's really kind of like something that like I can't believe we didn't deal with the Mythosaur like the episode after. So just knowing that it's there is going to be constant source of everyone being like, well, what about that? Well, what about that? Until it shows up again. And I actually have a feeling that they're going to long play this one, and that we're not going to see it again for quite some time.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's 9 episodes.
Like there's two different stories. Yeah, I was about to say, it definitely feel like there's two different stories happening.
Oh yeah,
like in this show, for sure. But we'll see.
Yeah.
They do. They book a Boba Fett in there. Every time you think you know where the show's about to go. Like, psych.
They're mixing us up. But honestly, like whatever, subvert my expectations. I like not knowing what's happening. I want to be shocked.
Told you in the beginning of the episode with the recap. Like, remember these people you haven't seen in a long, long time? You're about to see them again. And sure enough, we did. Like,
yeah, I hate when shows do that. Like, I get why, but it's just like, give us the credit that we remember.
It was like, nah, you don't remember these guys. And
but
like,
there's no way.
The thing is, though, is that like every casual fan that I've talked to about this episode so far has been like, who the fuck was the like lieutenant? Elia Kane. Like nobody recognized her. And
she has a very noticeable face.
Oh, I think I remembered. I was like,
I remembered her.
Same.
Yeah.
I think Elia Kane is they them. Just I think they identify as non-binary.
We're definitely trying to use the right pronouns here, so
I think I'm not sure. But either way, I remember
that's why I just call everyone by their name.
That's a beautiful face. That's a beautiful face. How could you forget it?
That is a beautiful and amazing that bob.
Yes, I was like,
that's a great cut.
I'm jealous of the hair.
The bone structure, everything. I was like, how are you gonna forget that? How you gonna?
And coming off of Ant-Man Quantumania, they're having a year.
Yes,
that is.
I'm telling you. Disney contracts. You
Look, man, run the gambit. All you need is one contract, and you set for life.
Yeah, just kill it in do whatever you're doing. Don't shake the waters too much, and they will keep you and continue to employ you. Apparently,
Yes.
Glad to have them though. Definitely. I knew that it was always like leading towards kind of like the betrayal in the end, and we'll get there when we go through more of this recap. But they made you kind of care about them, like, and both of them and their friendship, and like it was like, these two people are trying to find their way through a new thing, but there was always, I feel like, a hint of a sinister ploy in there, and I don't think they were trying to hide it, to be honest.
Anyone who's ever had like a speech in front of people in Star Wars, it never goes good for them. So like as soon as he started off with the speech, and I was like, oh, it's not. Poor Doc. It's not gonna be good for you.
We can start on my thoughts now if you like.
I was gonna say, let me just get one more thing in about the Mandos, because that dogfight was fucking stellar.
That was Star Wars.
One of my favorite action sequences that they've done in this show so far. Had a great time with that. Loved it. Also, loved when Mando like released out the pod. They do that in Rebels all the time, but I'm like, this. I always tell myself like they would never do this in live action, and they did it. They shot him at it. He landed on the platform, and yeah, it was dope. Really glad they did more of that, please. I don't know how much it costs from a VFX standpoint, but like I love to see the space combat. Like that's one of the, like Yali said, that's Star Wars. I mean, it was. That was the climax in A New Hope, and to a lot of people, they identify with that type of thing as like feeling very Star Wars.
And I love how R5 was just like, I never wanted to be on this mission, and I continue to not want to be on this mission.
He said, I hate it here.
He kept just complaining. He passed out. I was like, poor R5. Like, I never wanted to be here.
I mean, was sliding all over the place.
He just was miserable. And I love how they do such a good job of like showing emotions on the droids when they don't really have much to show the emotion. And like you could just tell R5 was miserable. And I was just like, oh baby, poor Paulie that got you up here with these strangers.
I can't wait till we get live action Chopper. That's gonna be
it's gonna be the best.
I'm gonna be so happy. Him and BB-8. I can't wait for live action BB-8, live action Chopper. That's gonna be the best. But I do want to ask y'all something. I know we're only 3 episodes in, so there's time for them to bring it back up. That timing of the TIE bombers bombing the castle, why then? Like, why at that time? Like, were they following her the whole time and then was just like, oh, hey, we waited till you came back to bomb your shit? Like, why not bomb her shit while she's not there to fight back? And then, like, her explanation was when the TIE interceptor showed up and shit, she was just like, yeah, I've jacked a lot of warlords in my time, and then was just like, oh, they don't really like that. But I was just like, she's been sitting in this castle depressed by herself for who knows how long. Why that day did they choose? And I know because it's a show, so maybe like just like plot convenience, but it just seemed weird that she's been off world, or she's been there, been left alone, goes off world. They wait till she comes back to blow her shit up. Like they just wanted her to see it. Like, oh yo, we want you to see this shit.
Yeah.
And I was just felt very like, oh, we'll throw it in here because that's what TV shows do. Like it didn't feel like it had any point.
If I had to
done that right there,
and this is a stretch, but if I had to like give a narrative reason behind why they wanted to kill her outside of the castle, is that like for the Empire to grow into the First Order, they need to plunder, which means they need to take whatever valuables they can get. So I think that they wanted revenge on Bo-Katan, and that anything that it was in that castle was deemed worth not destroying until it got to the point where it was like, oh, we're not gonna get her, well then let's take something from her and like cause her
see
more
that
pain.
That I could fuck with. Like they waited till she left to rob her, and she came back early, and it was like, oh shit, she back. Guess we gotta kill her now. I'd roll with that, but it just seemed like they just showed up out of nowhere.
Oh, that's me headcanoning this hard. Like,
no, I'm rolling. I'm gonna take
sense.
that. Yeah, I'll take that.
No, I felt the same way. I was like, why now? But also, I've said this before, like, Star Wars does not do a good job of describing how time moves. So, like, to us, it's an episode, but how long was she on Mandalore? How long was she on Kalevala? How many days did it take Grogu to get to Kalevala? Was it even days? Was it like there's no real sense of time? So like to us it just seems out of nowhere. But if they would just explain anything, we would get like, oh no, actually it makes perfect sense because she did this 2 days ago and they just got, like Star Wars and time really needs to, like, don't sell me a Citizen Star Wars watch until you can explain time to me. Like in Star Wars.
In a sense, you have to like embrace it because it's like, because without it, Empire would make no sense. Right? So like you can't have the Empire Strikes Back and be like, this is all
they struck back. I see what you did there. It's a Star Wars podcast.
It's one of those things.
Oh, damn, I missed it.
Thank you, Matt. Anyways, I'm braining this shit. I'm not even hiding it. Ask me anything, anyways.
You need to. You need to.
I need you guys to start saying it. That's what I'm. That's right.
I got you.
If you're gonna keep cutting me off with a Star Wars podcast, at least say what the
Star Wars podcast.
If we're gonna derail this shit, then we're gonna go back into the fucking.
I'm rolling. But Mike, I like your explanation. They were robbing her. She showed up early. It was like, fuck. Guess we gotta kill her now. I also, Yali, the code what shit that Star Wars does badly. I hate that Star Wars treats planets like cities.
Yes.
Like people be going to planets to hide. They get found in like 35 seconds. It's like you could have landed anywhere in that planet and you just picked the spot where the person you're looking for happens to be at. I hate that they treat that shit. It's like a burrow.
I will give you that. I will 100% give you that. But the one thing that they actually have explained why, like, you know how when everyone's trying to leave a planet and everyone's always like, why don't they just go on the round and go out the other side? There's legitimate reason why, like, the blockades work the way they do, and it's because hyperspace lanes have been, like, traced out of, like, specific points off of a planet. And that's why they're able to, like, that's why the Trade Federation is able to, like, actually, like, put, like, ships in a line in front of a planet and be like, no, we're going to stop you from leaving and entering at this point because it's the one place you can actually come in from. But you're right. Once you get to the planet's surface, it's like, there's a lot to explore here. We really just gonna, are we just going to pretend Tatooine is just Mos Eisley, Mos Pelgo?
That's how they act.
Like, there's a lot more than that. That's for sure.
What about Mos other side?
Right.
What's over there? Mos Southwest. What's going on down there?
I heard their Ronto tacos are very good over on that side.
No, they kind of like Lion King it. Like everything the light touches is us. Everything on the other side we don't fuck with. Like it's the elephant graveyard over there.
The plot don't call for that side of the planet.
We haven't rendered it. It's still loading.
Buffering. Just keep going.
You hit the invisible wall that you do in video games. You're just can't go any further than this. Sorry.
Thought this was open world. What do you mean I can't clear this mountain?
It's a DLC. You have to buy the rest of it.
Oh, that's what Disney Plus is for.
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right, let's dive into the amnesty program. I know there's a little... Anyways. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Yali. See, it's coming. Sure,
Star Wars podcast.
Dropping later next week, maybe next month. I don't know. We got a lot going on.
definitely need that. Definitely need that shirt. For sure.
So the New Republic Amnesty program, we come back onto Coruscant. This is the latest in the timeline we've seen Coruscant in live action, so it's great to see. The city is bustling. You know, it never really saw the war. They just toppled some Palpatine statues, and that was the extent of it. And we get a good lead into that when the one guy's like, "Oh, rebels, Empire. I just try not to get involved. Blah blah blah. White privilege on space." And it's like, yeah, dude, fuck you.
Coruscant is Switzerland.
Oh, 100%.
They don't get involved.
They don't get involved, and it's like they're. And it continues to show, and I saw even New Rockstars was actually talking. Eric Voss from New Rockstars was saying that like he hated the incompetence of the New Republic in this episode, and it's like I get it, you can be mad at it, but it's how the First Order comes into power. We need to keep in mind here that like the sequel trilogy happened, and the writers are trying to keep it consistent. They're going to suck, and we're going to see their failings, and we've already heard about their failings. In fact, Mando has called their marshals a joke already in previous episodes, so I think it's good that we got to see kind of like how broken it is, but then also how disconnected the citizens of Coruscant specifically are, because they were all really citizens that were convenienced by the Empire treating it as its homeworld still. So we hear Dr. Pershing's speech, which this is definitely alluding to some of the cloning that is going to, be involved in creating Snoke and eventually, Palpatine's resurrection. But I'd love to hear, Yali and Matt, I know you have tons to go over here. Don't hesitate to dive through the plot a bit forward in the recap. There's a lot to go over. So, Yali, I guess I'll pass it off to you first. What stuck out to you about the Amnesty program the most? And since we kind of started off with the presentation from Pershing, was there anything specific out of that you think is going to lead into something that ties directly into the Mando story as opposed to kind of the galaxy as a whole?
First of all, like I said before, I don't think you should ever give a speech ever in front of people in Star Wars because you usually die right after it, or nothing good comes of it. So keep all your thoughts to yourself. Yeah. So when he was talking, I was just like, oh baby, we're not gonna see you for a couple more episodes, it feels like. But I got this. Well, it's my theory that what his work is alluding to is revolving around Grogu, and I think that Grogu, and to give another nerdy example, I think Grogu's in essence Superboy. It's where Superboy is the creation between Lex Luthor and Superman, and he's supposed to be the best of both things of those two people, minus
Connor.
The flying.
He has a name.
Connor. Connell. Even though Superman was not claiming him until a couple movies later, but that's a different podcast. Anyways,
Lex was ready to claim him right away.
He was the better of the dads. So I think that Grogu is in essence half a good Jedi and half a Sith. And I think that's what they're trying to do, figure out the best way to balance out the Force using genetics. Because as we all know, it's all midichlorians. That's all it is. And so how do we make these midichlorians work so we can come up with the best form of Jedi? So I think that that's what Grogu is, although...
Not from a Jedi.
So in my mind... Grogu is half Yoda and half Anakin. Just trying to think about whose DNA is around and what could they collect. So I think that's where it comes in play. Again, it's just a theory. But I also felt the Amnesty program is I wish I could say that probably was Padme's idea, but she's dead. But Padme always believed that there was always good in people, even when you couldn't find it. And I feel like this is maybe in honor of her some way. But I don't know why we just don't accept the fact that everyone on the Empire is bad. They never just this just doesn't work out. Why do we keep trying to make it a thing? Fetch is never gonna happen, and I feel we keep trying to make the Empire or redeem the Empire, and it's just not going to work. As soon as I saw El Kang, I was like, oh, they up to some shit. I don't even trust you. I don't trust you. And the other thing is for them to want to redeem them or reintroduce them into the world as good people. Why give them numbers? Why not let them have names? That's Stormtrooper shit. That's Empire shit, where we don't give you a name.
Walt Disney gonna Holocaust. We talked about this earlier.
They said that the Empire would have treated it differently, but maybe the New Republic isn't as nice as you think.
That's the first thing I thought. It was why do they have numbers and not names? Yeah. Isn't the whole point of names being okay, we see you as a person? An individual, and
they said if you do fucked up shit when you have a name, you get a number.
And the whole chain code discussion going on in the first season of The Bad Batch, where it's they made a point to be we were trying to get rid of our numbers for years now. Everyone has one.
Yeah, it's just,
and it is weird. It's I almost wonder if the designations point out and declare these people were part of the Empire, but part of me is is the designation to protect them in a way so that people don't know what their names are? Because I'm sure that people have heard horror stories about specific people. Maybe Dr. Pershing could be one of those.
But then why do a speech in front of everyone where they say Dr. Pershing? You know what I mean?
It doesn't. An example out of him.
It doesn't.
So that was one of my gripes about this. Obviously, he has to explain his work so we know what he did and how Snoke came to be and build up for the sequel trilogies. But in the context of the show, what the fuck was the point of that speech? Like, they literally had him give a speech on what he did to then say, like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that no more. So it's like, why give him that platform, like you said, Yali, to show the good side of his research? Like, oh, we can save lives if we can continue to clone, and we can do organ cloning, and my mom would still be here, and oh, we weren't all bad. Oh, my research got tainted and used for something evil. I never wanted it to be all that. Like, what was the purpose of letting him get on stage to do that speech? And then they made my man a bank clerk. like he was a file clerk who wasn't allowed to do that research. Like, why'd they let him get that moment, like on a grand stage in the opera house?
I really think that it was to show that, and like, Yali, I know you already said, like, why are we giving these people chances? But it's like, if we don't believe that people can change and redeem themselves, then we're just going to continue to be divisive. I almost felt like it was like almost an allegory for what we're kind of going through right now in like the U.S., where it's like, you know, I guess we have to, as hard as it is, we have to attempt to believe in the people we don't agree with, that at a certain point there's a semblance of humanity in them and a reason to come back and, like, you know, be human, right? Like, and that's, I think, what the purpose of his presentation was. But, like, to go into depth about all of those things, Matt, I think was an exposition done for the audience to
Oh, absolutely,
for sure.
No,
but
no, I know it was, and I hate that. I
Yeah.
like don't punch down on me. Like, we know from the first season that he was dealing with cloning DNA and shit. It was already foreshadowed and referenced that his, at least if not him directly, then his research is going to have something to do with Snoke and Palpatine being cloned. Like, we're not dumb. We don't need like a literal exposition built into the show that serves no purpose in the show outside of just like relaying information. Because I'm like, in the logic from the course of the episode, you have him bigging up his research in a room full of politicians who they might want that shit now. Like, oh, damn, this could really be helpful. And then the New Republic's like, yeah, no, we shutting that shit down. We just wanted him to let you know what he was doing.
Yeah. Well,
like,
maybe that will come up, and that's why we got it. Like, you know, I guess I'm like, your criticism is totally valid. I'm not saying that you're wrong. Like, if this is all we hear of it and they don't touch on it in the future, totally missed opportunity. But now you made such a big deal about it. I'd like to see someone from that presentation come and bust his ass out of wherever he's going to end up getting locked up. Because let's be real, that's what's happening next for him.
Yeah, his brain is pudding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think the reason for making his brain pudding means like he can't do the research. I think that they don't need him to do it at this point. Yeah. They just need whatever he needed to actually do the research.
The materials.
They just need the materials to do it. I will say, I think I've said this like to you guys, but I feel like these first 3 episodes, I think because this season is one of the longer ones, so they have 9 episodes, I feel like they use the first 3 episodes to remind people, yo, remember these characters? This is what they were doing before. Like, because the second episode was like really exposition heavy too. Like Boca basically like going through like everything you would have learned in like the Clone Wars and like in Rebels, essentially. Like, if you didn't watch those 2 shows, she's gonna tell you right now that she's talking to Grogu. You know, so I feel like that is like a missed opportunity for people who actually watched all of this shit. It's like, you gotta give it something, you know what I mean? And the whole thing with Pershing was like you said, it was very exposition heavy, but like, what is the thing that people who've been watching the shows get from this episode? Not much, honestly, you know, except for the cookies. But that's all we got. Like, I feel like this episode in particular doesn't give much to people who've already been invested into the show. Like, it's just a lot for people who may like be getting into it now. Like, hey, you never even heard of this person, let's tell you right now. It's like, but what do I get, the person who's been watching all of this shit?
Right, as a fan.
What do I get?
A theory that might make you guys feel a little better. Not a lot better, but a little better. I don't think that his brain is mush, and I do think that they still need him, but I think that they're going to use that mind flayer technology to torture him and make him do the research for them. So I think that, like, he's gonna be continuously like going through PTSD of like, oh no, please, like we already know that Dr. Pershing is a very skittish, scared, and like will do anything, I guess, to stave off being, even though he is scared like that, he is kind of a survivalist. He'll do whatever it takes to maintain his own safety, and because of that, I think that like we're gonna see him a lot more, maybe not a ton in the next coming episodes, but I do think that his story is not over, and the reason we spent so much time with him is because we had listen, at some point people are going to bite it, and I think that we are building sympathy for his character and having an understanding of like, his mom in that story. That was a through line from the presentation that he talked about later in the episode when they were getting the lab supplies. Maybe it's all about trying to make us feel something for him for when eventually he does go, to be like, wow, he had a really good arc. He was trying to do the right thing, but look what ultimately came of his work and how dangerous it can be if you continuously give in to someone who's like the Empire.
My only one thing, and I know it's me like drastically wishfully thinking, was the part where Pershing, like when he was doing kind of like his the trainings, like when they were asking him questions and everything, his Winter Soldier meetings.
Yes, absolutely.
Freight car, train, red. like when they were asking him all the Winter Soldier questions, like I don't know if this was intentional, but like when he lied, he would like tug on his ear, and he did that during his speech when he started talking about his mom. Like he started like tugging on his ear, so maybe he was bullshitting, and he is a piece of shit. Like, and he is like evil and like really like trying to bring the Empire back and everything. Maybe the lieutenant knew that he was like a really, really bad guy, and she actually is working for the New Republic and like was trying to fry his brain because she knew that like, oh, if we let him do some shit, he gonna fuck some shit up.
That is something I did not think of, and if it plays out like that, then wow, man.
That's like I'm hoping.
Clap.
Well, I feel like that's a good theory, because like if you look at Star Wars overall, like there's no such thing really as someone who's like a weak character, and like making him the sad little man like doesn't feel right to me. Like the whole time he was just
Cyril.
Even Cyril was like
he's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, but the weak characters can have strong moments. And
yeah,
that is something that is like, I do think that there have been a handful of characters who are very like skittish and shy, but when they like have the opportunity to stand up for what is right and they do it, I think it has impact. But to your point, you're right. Like typically we don't see that often, so I wonder if this is a case of
I'm hoping it's a red herring.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like him being like that was like, I don't, for some reason it doesn't feel authentic. Like I noticed the ear thing too. It's like maybe that's just like his way of like keep the lie, keep like something like stay in character or something. Like it just didn't feel right. Yeah, because then, damn, what if he's the antagonist? Because like we've been saying, like we don't know who the big bad of this season's supposed to be. It's kind of like up in the cloud. Like, damn, you know what? That's what I want to happen. I want him to like be a supervillain, and the lieutenant like knew like from their time of work, because weren't they on the same Star Destroyer? Like, yeah,
they even said it. They were like, "Oh, I walked past you a million times."
Yeah, and I never said nothing to you. Like maybe that was Cap. Maybe she knew exactly what type of fucked up shit he was into, and she was just like, oh, this dude's a problem. Like, we need to get him off the map or whatnot. Because I'm like, if it is that he actually is reformed and the lieutenant, I keep forgetting their name.
Elia Kane.
Yeah, Elia Kane. So if it is the way that they're portraying it to be, that, you know, they're a Empire sympathizer and he really is reformed, and they are trying to just steal the research and get it so we can make Snoke Palpatine combinations or whatnot, what have you. If it is just that clear cut and dry, what was the angle? Like, you were left alone in the room and you turned the dial all the way up. How are you not about to get caught? Like, there's no way that you could just go back to like your regular 9 to 5 and someone just come in and just be like, whoa, we didn't put this shit all the way up. Like, we had this on the lowest setting so he could like be at peace, and now it's turned all the way up, and his brain zucchini. You were the only person that was in here. So I'm just like, what was the exit strategy if it is? And they just stayed there, like fried his brains and just stayed there eating cookies.
It's like, he's right. These cookies are delicious. They really are.
And then that
are better.
Yeah, and then that doctor, worst doctor of the New Republic ever, like to leave somebody alone that's like an ex-Empire employee. And he even questioned himself. He's like, leave you alone. And then Alara was just like, oh yeah, it's my friend. He's like, oh, okay, I understand.
Can you imagine if the doctor just left in the middle of an MRI? Deuces.
That's essentially what happened.
Oh, well then, what do I know?
Not even an MRI. He left in the middle of a lobotomy.
It'll be
my
fine.
man up and left. Yeah. Like, I'll leave you alone to grieve over your friend. Just don't touch nothing.
If he ends up being like the big bad and like because he's been like, oh, I didn't hurt the child and like all this stuff like the whole time, and then like do this like a supercut of him treating Grogu like absolute garbage, the fan base will have no problem like turning on a fucking dime to be like, fuck this guy.
It's the same hate we all had for Jason Sudeikis when we found out he was the one who punched Grogu. Like, if we see you in the street, it's on sight. Like, please understand. Like,
Facts.
that's gonna be him. Like, if I see you, Dr. Pershing, it's on sight. Like, don't touch my baby.
I mean, and that's a good way to connect the threads, because as it stands right now, it's the tale of two shows. Like, it's what's going on with the Mandos, it's what's going on with the New Republic. Like, that would be a good way to cross it. Like, if there's like a scene where Grogu and Pershing like cross paths and Grogu starts having like repressed memory flashbacks, and like that could be the way to see that he was like poking and prodding and doing some fucked up shit, and like it's like, oh, you piece of shit, you hurt my baby.
You know flashbacks are coming because they were in the trailer, so who knows? Maybe that's part of it.
I think we cracked the code, guys.
Can we please talk about the bad CGI of the popsicles, though? For like just for 2 seconds.
Oh my god!
I was just like,
how long
the
before
photon,
Disney
the
starts selling
photon
these?
physicist.
yes,
Photon
physics.
I don't understand
So
like
So
how they
bad.
work. Because it was still intact after he dropped it. I was like, so does it melt? Is it what? Is
And and Alara was just like, "Oh, you're melting." That shit was
no,
not
it wasn't. I was like, it's $1 billion corporation. They can't just give them real popsicles. Like, I don't understand what the fuck the problem is. Like,
Watch the behind the scenes. Will show it was actually real, and Yali's just gonna be like, her brain's gonna be broken.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
The way that they were even eating it,
It was
that
just
the fakest movie bites I've ever seen in my
absolutely.
life,
I'm just like,
they was like,
I'm like, you telling me you don't sell popsicles at Galaxy's Edge? Like, don't play with me. Give them a fucking popsicle and let's move along. Like,
when I return to Galaxy's Edge, there better be a light in my fucking popsicle.
exactly.
you know what? They spent the budget on that dog fight. Fuck, we don't got no money. We have no money for the popsicle scene.
It's kind of hilarious that it is in the same episode, right?
Right? Like, look at the juxtaposition between CGI. It's like, why? We could have just cut the scene. Like, we really did. They need popsicles. You could have got them the blue milk that they sell over at Galaxy's Edge or something, or the green one.
And I've been bitching about this for Obi-Wan, for Boba Fett. I hate when they use CGI where you could have just used a practical effect.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. Like, that was probably so much more expensive than spending $2 on a box of popsicles.
And listen, I watch all the behind the scenes stuff, and it's like, it's so funny that you mention that, because they go out of their way sometimes to do things with practical stuff when it's like, you really could just do CGI. They created an entire Rancor head and back for Tamora Morrison
for that one scene.
For like one scene creeping over the top.
I mean, but when you got Jim Henson's company like as part of your squad, why not? But like a popsicle, go to Walmart. Like, I don't understand. Like, they sell Star Wars popsicles. Like, you could just easily buy those. Like, it's not a thing we made up.
Could have got a Darth Vader blow pop with the bubble gum.
Exactly. Anything.
Man, we still have to. These are sold on discount because the Empire's over.
Exactly.
We can't get rid of resources. We just gotta use what we got till we run out of them. Like, I'm sorry.
2 musical Easter eggs and this is the perfect segue because it happens during the popsicle scene. So the one that I really, really, really enjoyed was the Rise of the Resistance, like, theme that plays throughout the sequel trilogy is like being used when they're walking through Coruscant's little like fair area there. And it was just really cool to kind of like see that. Oh, it's like, oh, they really are blending like a lot of these elements together. The Mandoverse is like the toy box that we all want Star Wars to be at all times, where they're like really pulling the best parts of everything, and even in a musical standpoint, they managed to pull something from. And I've been kind of like pounding. I know people don't like the sequel trilogy as much as the OT and the PT, but like, there's still some good stuff in there, and I really, really, really like that they're starting to blend some of those elements into the things that we have going on, because especially like, you know, with the Anzellans, like the Babu Frick stuff, like fucking yes, like bring all these guys in here. I want the universe to feel like we're lived in. And I think my biggest gripe with the sequel trilogy was that they didn't bring back enough of the OG aliens. So, like, let's let this melting pot...
everything was CGI.
Yeah, let's let this melting pot, like, do its thing. But another Easter egg from a musical standpoint is the ominous, like, oh, that's, like, always in the background when, like, Snoke or Palpatine is involved in things, was happening when... one, when he was giving his speech about the cloning, but two, when they're in the lab on the Star Destroyer. So it's like, yeah, great. Like, please give me all of those feels. Like, I want it to thematically line up. So I'm really happy that they started to, like, kind of incorporate those things so that we can always kind of get the hint that it's like, hey, like, this is where a lot of that fucked up shit is beginning. And, you know, we're going to, you see the repercussions of it later, but I'm glad that we're getting some of the connective tissue. Whether it involves Mando directly or not, this is the time period to explore it. So I'm glad to see it. And I'm also starting to wonder, because something you guys said earlier really kind of tipped my hand to it. Matt, I think when you said it's like, we're getting the Mando story and like the New Republic story, do you think that they're taking some of the plot lines from the scrapped Rangers of the New Republic show and shoving it into Mando, since they had to fire Gina Carano?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, they've mentioned her character. Cara Dune was mentioned in the first episode, so I wouldn't be surprised, because it seems to me that this season of Mandalorian is trying. Alright, cool. I was saying, I got blipped. What is it still 2023?
It is.
Alright, cool. I was saying, it seems like this season of Mandalorian, for me, seems like it's trying to do for the sequel trilogy what Obi-Wan did for the prequel trilogy. It's trying to, like, connect the tissue, but also, like, make, like, up its stock, like, up its value. Because, like, and I love The Force Awakens. That's actually one of my more favorite Star Wars movies. It's the other two that I'm like, ugh. I'll see it because I've been with y'all this long. But I feel like Dave Filoni's not gonna let Star Wars go out like on a bad foot, because like we've talked about this off mic, is like we're rapidly closing the gap before we're like caught up, and then we're out of material, and then we gotta like move on to like new shit. And, you know, they've been very open that they don't want to like keep relying on the Skywalkers anymore. They want to like do new shit, like new characters, develop like new stories and whatnot. So we're getting to that point where it's just like you said, Mike, some of these people either got to start getting bumped off and or go to Southwest Tatooine, where we've never like live a life and we never see them ever again.
I got a nice parcel for you right there. You're gonna love it.
right by the hot springs.
It's lovely.
Look, when Adonis Creed offer you some real estate, you take it.
Say less.
but we're getting to that point where it's just like we're almost caught up to like the source material and everything. So it's just like we really do got to start cranking it out. And I imagine like a lot of shit's gonna get filled in Ahsoka. And we talked about this. I feel like this show's gonna lead right into it. I don't necessarily know if Ahsoka's gonna pop up, but I didn't even peep that they were doing like the Sidious hums when he was doing his speech. I'm definitely saying he's the bad guy for this season. if that's the case, they out here doing Empire undertones when he's giving the speech about his mom and her bad heart. I'm definitely saying, because I don't see what other way you bridge the stories, like what they're doing with Din and Bo and everything. It seems so separate, like super duper uninvolved.
It is separate, and I actually I think that knowing that Thrawn is obviously going to be an antagonist in Ahsoka, what is going to happen to this group? I don't want to call, they're not B-list characters, but they're very adjacent to the main Skywalker saga characters. They're not there during the sequel trilogy, and if they are, it's only at the end for Exegol. So what happens to them? And it's not just a handful.
Tatooine.
There's a lot of them. It's Ahsoka, Ezra, Sabine, Hera, like literally all the Mando cast at this point. Like, I don't think they're going to be around. At the very least, it's going to be, I think his name is Carson Teva, the one X-Wing pilot who is from Kim's Convenience, who keeps popping back up. He's the one who's like desperately trying to get to the bottom of this, and I think it's like he's going to be the one who convinces Leia ultimately to like form the Resistance, if that hasn't been covered in a book already. But like everyone else, like I think the conflict is either going to take a lot of them out of the picture. They might all just decide to like vacation on Mandalore for the rest of their time, or maybe they all get dragged out into a conflict in the unknown regions, and that's a whole new area for them to just continuously tell Star Wars stories for a long time.
And we're getting like 2 other shows, which is like the Skeleton Crew, and then is it the Apostate or the Apostle?
No, the Acolyte.
The Acolyte.
The Acolyte takes place before the Phantom Menace.
Okay, so
that one is
we're getting 2 more shows. I just feel like there's like Matt's saying, like we're getting too close to like there's everything that we did see. Any small gap, we're getting ready to fill it all up, and so like that's it. That's all. So it's kind of like I feel like my only thing is I don't see them killing Grogu because money. Like that's the only thing I can think of. Like, and I don't know how they would put Grogu into like this new trilogy that we're supposed to be getting. You know what I mean? Because like from a budget standpoint,
want it to be way in the future, and like Grogu like is the Yoda.
I'm gonna say from a business standpoint. So, and I'm gonna use a perfect example. So, everyone loved Baby Groot. Everyone. There was like, oh my god, it's Groot, it's a baby. I'm gonna buy the Funko Pop. I'm gonna buy the Chia Pet. I'm gonna buy all of it. And so when Groot got bigger, they made less merchandise of Groot that size because he's not marketable. So I don't see them making Grogu bigger when it benefits them financially to keep him tiny. You know what I mean? Like at this point, he's already 52. So it's just kind of like, it would be cool if he was the Yoda for whoever's coming up next, because then he would be different. He would be a Jedi who's also a Mandalorian, so like that gives a different perspective. But from a business standpoint, I don't see them doing anything but keeping him cute and tiny so we can sell more things to me, who plans on buying all of it. Like,
I think the only thing in Star Wars that sells better or as good as cute and tiny is super badass, and if we see a Yoda species with Mandalorian armor on who's fucking shit up with a Darksaber, then I think that
that'd be lit.
They might not have as much problem marketing as you think, but I definitely hear where you're coming from, and it's like from a business standpoint, it's like how can we get the most out of Grogu as possible?
Yeah,
like I do want, like, are they going to update the puppet? Like how much time is going to pass? Like when does he grow an extra couple inches here? Who knows?
Yeah, like he's 52. He looks exactly the same, and it's just like, okay, well, how does time work in fucking Star Wars? Like, I don't,
The species age differently.
I mean, look what happened to Obi-Wan 11 years later. He was an old ass man.
Like Tatooine Sons. He should have gone to
fucking him up.
What do we call it? Southwest Tatooine. He should have been over there.
Southwest
the suns aren't as harsh.
They ain't got SPF down there and shit. Like, come on, Obi. I know he was kind of golden actually, so no, there wasn't no SPF. He just put
not at all.
fish oil on himself and just outside tanning, like
Yeah, the ahi pieces that he was stealing.
Yep, he made oil out of it and then just put it all over his body.
Exfoliated. You know what it is? I'm calling bullshit. Obi-Wan didn't go gray. He dyed his hair to blend in. That's what it was. He was
no one will recognize me now.
They'll never recognize me if I go gray.
He just sprayed some stuff in his hair and the sun bleached it. It's fine.
Yeah, that's why for half the movie, he had the hood up. The shit started coming out. He started going brown again. He's like, oh,
they're gonna know it's me.
They gonna know it's me.
So
they ain't gonna think I'm old Ben.
At this point, we've talked through a lot of the plot. I don't know if there's much else we need to talk through, other than I guess really like the is there any more repercussions of like the mind flare technology that we want to go into, or should we go into our favorite segment here that's going to be extremely short this week because we did not have a lot of time with our read round?
I can segue you into that because I do have some Grogu concerns, because it's like my fear, like what you guys are saying, I totally agree with. Like they're not too keen on killing Grogu off, but then like my fear is, I feel like it's been foreshadowed and kind of like they've showed their hand that Grogu somehow relates to Palpatine getting cloned. Like somehow, like whether they already have his DNA from the experiments before, or if they get it in a later season. And I don't see how you create Snoke, bring back Palpatine, and Grogu lives through that, Anyway, or my bigger fear is that Grogu has been alive this whole time, and then we get some bullshit Marvel explanation as to why he hasn't been involved with all the fuck shit that's going on. My super fear is that they're gonna try to be like, oh, it's a big galaxy, like that's ever been a thing. Like Star Wars has always been extremely small since it's been Star Wars. Like we're out in space and planets, but somehow everybody always ends up on top of each other. Now y'all want it to be a big galaxy, and he's just kind of been living his whole life, because it's like, I don't think there's any traces and or mentions of anything Mandalorian in the sequel trilogy. So it's like, did all them characters get bumped off?
There's literally the only reference to Mandalorian in the sequel trilogy is the Mythosaur flag that hangs from Maz Kanata's castle.
So my only thought of how they could do it would be like, everyone wanted to know like how Maz Kanata get Luke's saber, and I feel like the only way it would be Grogu was the one who gave it to Maz Kanata, and like that's how it went. But then you'd have to give Maz Kanata a reason to know Grogu, but like Maz Kanata knows everybody, so it feels like,
oh, bring back Lupita Nyong'o. I'm all for
listen,
Maz
any
Kanata.
reason, bring back Lupita any time, any day of the week. So I feel like that's the only way they connect it.
There's pirates. Let's get all the pirates. Hondo, Maz Kanata, Dorian,
I just feel like that's
Greg, whatever the fuck his name. Why can't I remember his name? Who is fucking old Greg? What is his name? It's Dorian something. Or
I don't know.
Gorian Shard.
Gorian Shards, yeah. Swamp
Seaweed
Thing.
Man. Yeah, Swamp Thing.
So Greg.
I feel like that's how they could do it. It's just be like, she got the lightsaber from Grogu because Grogu was training with old boy, and then
I love that.
But still, it's just like, it's the Eternals problem. Like, where were you?
Yeah, it's the X-Men problem. It's just like, where have y'all been this whole time that all this shit's been going on?
That's why they should be recasting these guys instead of letting everybody come back. But, hey, that's a story for another podcast, I guess.
If Din and Grogu or Bo-Katan or the Watch, if they like all ride off into the sunset and like reestablish Mandalore, like I feel like that would have been a thing that would have come up, like that would have been mentioned.
What does the Lasats do that in Rebels?
Right.
They go through that like a similar thing to like the Maw, and they come out somewhere else, and like there's a planet that's inhabited and away from the conflict. And
I just feel like they're writing them. They're writing themselves into having to say that, like, oh, they just were on the other side of the galaxy. Like, it's a big universe. Yeah. Everybody can't be everywhere.
Yeah, but even then, the scenes with Rey, like, reaching into the Force, like, why wouldn't Grogu have shown up? Like, as strong as he is, like, they can say, like, oh, well, he's a Mandalorian now, so, but no, like, he's still connected to the Force. Like, he would have known. Yeah. Like, there's just no way.
Or even, like, if Snoke and Palpatine were created out of Grogu, you just let these motherfuckers take over the world again?
Like, there's no way Din would have let that go down.
I think they're going to get pulled into the unknown regions. Like, I do think that, like, the conflict that is eventually leading to, like, them having to deal with the Chiss Ascendancy outside our known galaxy, right? So, like, that's my take and vibe on where things are heading.
Yeah, but the Mandalorians are like, once you with the crew, we with the crew. So if something happens to Grogu, they're not gonna sit there, like.
Or even if like nothing, like even if Grogu like gets out of it unscathed, or even if they already have the DNA and they just needed the equipment, which is why Pershing was tricked into going, like, whatever the situation may be. If it were to come up, like, or if they were to like find it or Grogu feel it that, oh shit, they just created this mega evil based off my DNA, he's not letting that shit slide.
Yeah.
Like, he's not just gonna not get involved. He's gonna be like, I have a responsibility to help.
That means he's getting iced.
Yeah, that's the only way that I can see.
Carbon freeze that Grogu.
Something.
we'll melt him when it's convenient. We'll get him out here when we need to market him
People
again.
will buy that. A Grogu and Carbon, they'll buy that.
That's sad. I don't want it.
That'll be a dope paperweight.
We're going to transition here to one of our favorite segments. Cue the sounder.
It's Baby Yoda's cutest faces.
I would like to see the baby.
The fun
Grogu
part
and
about
Carbonite.
this is that like I just cut out as much as we need to have it. Well, I know that like we're just
Put the sounder.
Yeah. Like I literally cut, and you can your snide little comment. A Star Wars podcast.
The Star Wars podcast.
Come right back in. It's all good. So really, only one I had for this week was when he closes his pram. By him and Bo-Katan
That's
is. Yeah, I don't think
He
we
literally
have-
said, "This is the way," but in his own little Grogu, like I was in tears.
Did he
That's
really?
why I have other
Yes,
people
when-
here to go through their cutest moments.
No, so when they were in the plane, and then Dim was like, "This is the way," and she was like, "This is the way," and then Grogu was like, it was him trying to say like, "This
Oh,
is the
shit.
way," and I was just like,
That's dope.
his first little words. I was in,
Oh
I
my
was
god, I gotta get that
crying.
now.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
if you
at all.
catch like the I forget what the technical term is, like, but the syllable movement, like it's the same. This is the way, but him trying to say it.
the cadence.
Yeah, like it was. I was like in tears. I was like, oh, he's like a little
That's
Mandalorian now, because he was like, because when in the second episode when she didn't say it, Grogu was looking at her like, "You're not gonna say this is the way? Like, what's wrong with you?"
He said, "Bitch."
So when she said it this time, he looked at her. He was like, "This is the way." I was like, "Oh my god, Grogu said it!"
The
So
Colts back together again.
this is so cute. So
Did anyone else have another moment?
Yeah, I didn't even know about that one. That was fire.
because
But no, him closing the hatch was gonna be mine too.
he's just so adorable.
Well, matter of fact, when he opened it back up, he's like, oh, shit's done.
It's like
He's
it's like the
53-year-old I've
Pokemon
ever-
thing, where like with Togepi would like go in Misty's backpack when shit was popping off, and then it was done. Togepi be like, "What's up? Everything cool now?" Like that's what Grogu
Now I
was
just want
doing.
Grogu to speak in
no
just
help
his
at all.
name. Just like a little
I'd have been mad as shit if I was other Pokemon. I'd have been like, "Yo, Togepi, you're a fucking nuke."
Right?
We out here,
Why
we out
don't you
here
ever
getting cooked.
help?
We out here getting cooked. You ain't gonna help me. You just gonna let Mewtwo kill Ash?
Like you don't
Metronome your
wanna
ass
do
over here.
like use metronome, damn it! Like come on.
Right. Like, you watching me getting tossed around the Indigo League? You ain't want to come help?
No, I'm good. This backpack
This
is
is
nice.
3 weeks in a row with Pokemon references because we've been talking about Team Rocket. So I'm just saying, keep them coming, man. I'm not complaining.
Team Pirate.
No, he was
All right.
just
Come
so
back.
cute. I just
We're I know,
don't kill
he's the
him,
best.
please. Please don't kill him.
Freeze him in
He
carbonate.
has to.
Save him for later.
If he dies, he dies.
No. And the other thing is, like, I don't know if anyone else had the thought, maybe it's just me, but like, since Grogu is like very food motivated, I was like, I hope they give Grogu those popsicles and those cookies at a certain point, because like he just loves food. Like he had the soup, he had the Tic Tacs. All right, now he needs the cookies and he needs these popsicles. Like, let's keep it going. Like,
I hope he eats like the red ones that were referenced and he like
Yes.
spits them out.
he's like,
Spits that
these
shit
are
out.
trash.
Ugh.
Where are the yellow
The
ones?
fuck?
All right,
Look,
time
Ali,
for
when they ice Grogu, more not those who join the Force.
rejoice for them. Who
Rejoice.
No, I'm going to
Mandoverse.
I'm going to show up at some Dave Filoni's doorstep. Like, we have problems, me and you particularly. So
Yeah, I'm sure he's already building up to those measures to protect himself.
everybody knows
Facts.
if one thing Yali's all about, she'll fight a celebrity. She does not care.
Anyways,
Neil Blomkamp, you
it's-
know what happened. I'm not on Twitter anymore because of you, but it's fine.
We want the smoke.
We want the Snoke, is what we said.
Way.
The Star Wars podcast.
Let's go. That has to be that's
we
the name
want
of the episode.
Snoke. Yep,
We
there
want the
go.
Snoke.
We want
the
the snow.
That's
Oh my
perfect.
god,
Star
what if they
Wars
do like
podcast.
he mentioned not you do you make me think about it. They mentioned organs, like, and because of Grogu's aging, is that the whole point? Like for them to create organs that last longer.
Age slow?
Yeah, like something like that, so that Palpatine can live forever. Like, again, Grogu's a baby, but he's 52, so like maybe that's what he's trying to do.
I know he's trying to go into a younger body, so that makes sense. Like from the Sith standpoint, they want to live forever. So I think you're onto something there.
Because the ear thing was when he was talking about his mom and the organs, and he was like,
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this feels like maybe it's not just cloning, but the cloning of the organs. And also, I know we're like timed, but why not? What happened to the people on Camino? Like they were doing cloning too. So did they have
got
to
blown up?
all of them though? Are they all gone?
Yeah.
Listen, they're dealing with it right now in the Bad Batch.
Yeah, they bombed Camino. There's literally only 2 of them left.
That's all you need.
This is a good segue. This is a good segue to our other segment.
Well, two of them left, but only Lama Su knows how to clone.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like, wait a minute. How we can recreate this? He just got
they blew that bad boy sky high.
But they don't have the technology anywhere either. Wait.
No, so as a way to phase out the clones, they blew up so that they couldn't make no more clones. That's like when they started the Stormtrooper initiative.
That is so cheap, though.
They literally bombed Camino.
That's cheap as fuck.
The Empire, they didn't think ahead.
No.
Are you guys going to cut me off from going into the next segment?
Sorry.
It was a Bad Batch rant.
I'm sorry.
I know. We can Bad Batch rant after we go through the sounder of Ask Me Anything. So, comes in from a friend of mine, Jeremy Marr, asking, do we think it's possible that Omega is Force sensitive even though she's a clone? And I think that this ties in perfectly to the discussion we were having, and I think the more time that passes in the Bad Batch and the more you kind of get time to observe Omega, I'm leaning that she is Force sensitive. So,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
There's a lot of things where it's like, at the beginning it was like, I thought that maybe she had the special attributes of all the different members of the Bad Batch because she was copying them. But after a recent episode of the Bad Batch where she interacted with a Jedi for the first time, Gungi, glad to see him back, she was able to, I think she was getting a lot out of the connection with nature that he had, and then trying to replicate it through the lessons she learned through him. So personally, I feel that we're inching very close to that being the case, and the Mount Tantus cloning experiment, which is the Empire's, them moving all of the Camino and technology, Yali, is where that is going from like a cloning standpoint. I also have theories about, I think Dr. Pershing's mother was actually a scientist on that facility. So
I have the same theory as well.
Yeah, that's my thought, is that he comes from there, and that his special story about his mom having heart failure is actually much more tragic than it actually is, because she could have been a clone that was designed that way. Yeah, we'll have to find out, but I do think that Omega is Force sensitive. What are your guys' takes on how?
I
that's, is it possible?
And that's another one in terms of like having to explain away stuff. Like, where's she been at? Like, where she's been at?
Omega, where you been?
Especially like knowing that, you know, genetically that's like Boba's sister. He got a whole show. Like, so I would imagine.
I really
that,
thought she was.
He didn't get a whole show. He got part of a show. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're right. That was Mandalorian season 2.5.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't jack the shit out of his show.
And it was worth it, honstly.
One of the best two episodes of The
1,000%.
Mandalorian
Absolutely.
in a show that's not titled The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
is what
facts.
I'm saying.
But I'm like, for her to be such a big player in Bad Batch, and like for her to like essentially be like the nucleus from which a lot of these clones have come from, like she's like a major name, and she like, I would imagine is gonna be a major player, and I would think she would show up in Ahsoka. I think that'd be a cool place for her to pop up. But that's another thing. It's just like I don't want them to be like, oh, it's a big galaxy now all of a sudden. She's been here, just not in front of the camera. Like,
Well, I'm pretty sure she is Force sensitive, because midichlorians are in everybody, and all she gotta do is have a certain amount of midichlorians, boom, boom, bada, bam. It's Force sensitive. So
I feel like they've made a big stink.
them damn germs.
And I really actually think that like this narrative is much more fan like made, and like really pulling out of like some of the Legends material that clones inherently can't be Force sensitive, but it's like, well, Snoke was a result of that, and like I think that maybe the key to unlocking it is something in Omega's DNA, and maybe it is something in Grogu's DNA, and we're just not quite there yet. And maybe Pershing's like research is the thing that ties it all together, and like these shows are much more connected than we thought. But I wouldn't be surprised if, and like I feel like in a lot of things, like don't kill kids. Don't kill kids. Like all the shows are like just don't kill kids. So they're either going to have to.
It's the wrong franchise. They love killing things.
So they either like or have to grow up these kids fast, or someone has to like. I wouldn't of all the characters that I would assume ride off into the sunset and remove themselves from the conflict. It is the Bad Batch. Like let them have their family moment, especially after this week's episode. It's just kind of like they got a glimpse of what they could have. Naturally, I feel like they did it just to rip it away from them.
Yes, of course.
They got to go get Crosshairs. You're not a complete family until you get Crosshairs.
Yeah. So,
get my man. He's lonely.
That man has been through some shit. Holy shit,
bro. he was left on bombed Camino for 4 cycles. He's been through some shit.
He's been through some
by
shit.
himself.
Oh man, poor guy.
Mike, question for you. That just popped into my head. When I don't know if this has ever been like discussed. When do clones like accelerated aging stop? Like when's it stop and they're allowed to like just they just always rapidly age?
They will continue to rapidly age until they die. So I know it's kind of crazy, but like the best example that we can use is the clones that show up in Rebels, being
I was just about to ask.
Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. Technically, at that point in the timeline, they are around like 25 or 30. But they are like they look like they could be like 50, 60, late 50s for sure.
It's the Obi-Wan shit that throws it, because it's like him going from middle age to senior citizen in 10 years.
Well, I also think that it's like they just didn't age.
Confusing.
They didn't age Ewan up enough in Revenge of the Sith, I think, to make it feel like a logical.
They give him that little patch of gray on the side.
Yeah, they give him a tiny patch of gray. And it's like, but like in reality, like he is older. Like he's by the time. I mean, and let's be real. Like if you're living on a desert planet, like it is going to take its toll on you. But
a planet with that's double the aging process, I would say. Right? Yeah, he just never sunscreen. I'm telling you, he was just using too much of that fish oil, that tuna, and he just made himself extra crispy kernel for no reason.
that darn Ben didn't take care of his skin.
He didn't get that lesson from Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon died right before it. So
Qui-Gon did have luxurious skin.
He did, and the hair silky.
His self-care routine.
It wasn't a wig, but it was some silky hair. Thank you, Jeremy, for the question. Let us. I guess like I'm hopefully we can learn more about Omega before the season's over. We're quickly approaching.
Because she's like Boba, right? She doesn't age rapidly.
Yeah, the only thing about her DNA that is altered is her gender.
That she's a girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So
with luxurious blonde hair.
Yeah. So actually, a fun Easter egg is I believe Tamora Morrison's mother had blonde hair, so they like took that and made her part of like the character, which is like. I think that was a cool logical step there. So it's really
dope. I like that.
Really fun thing to have there. Before we leave, Yali, thank you so much for joining us. Matt, I don't even think I introduced you this week, but you've been here for 2 weeks, so they know who you are. They know who I am. So glad to have you on board, Yali. And when you make your first appearance on Annie, Are You Okay? You're required to answer some fan questions. So I got him here for you.
Okay.
So I need to know, what is your...
The Star Wars podcast.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I love this.
This is the longest episode that we've had yet.
Don't put this shit on me. This is Matt.
And if anything, Steves will be happy that we continue to derail the podcast without him.
You're welcome.
I'm doing it for 2.
So, Yali, what is your favorite aspect of the Star Wars universe? Whether it be Jedi, Sith, the scum and villainy. Like, I think I said to Matt, what faction do you fuck with? So, tell us who resonates with you the most. Like, if you were in the Star Wars universe, what would you want to be, or who like has had the biggest impact on you?
Rep your set.
Oh God, I've always wanted to be a Greysider my entire my entire life, like especially when I got the books. Just knowing like you could be a Jedi and fuck, and like it's totally fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to.
That's exactly what Matt said.
I said the same shit. Well, I said I'd be in the rebellion because I couldn't be a Jedi because I'd be fucking.
Yeah, Greysiders are like, they're Jedi, but they be fucking. They be fucking. So, because I never understood. Like again, I believe like absolutes are terrible for the Force, and so like why would I participate in an absolute when I can have the best of both worlds and Hannah Montana that shit? So I've always wanted to be.
I mean, if you look at it, like
an absolute.
Even though they like grew up as Jedi, like the characters like Ahsoka and Qui-Gon, even though they're not technically like great Jedi, like they've said that like, oh, they don't exist, and it's like, yeah, but like through the characters' actions, like they kind of do. Mm-hmm. They end up exemplifying the Jedi.
Mace Windu was kind of a textbook great Jedi.
Right? They kind of like end up exemplifying the Jedi in the best way, shape, or form. Mace Windu is actually the opposite. He ends up exemplifying like the Sith, but like under the guise of a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love his character,
that's why it's just purple.
But yeah, I think it's like you're right. Like the absolutes and the dogma of the Jedi definitely tears those characters down a little bit. So yeah,
I want power, but I also want to be fucking. So that's my
fair enough. All right, so
power fucking.
Why not both?
Absolutely.
So next question here: what is your earliest Star Wars memory?
Oh God, I'm pretty sure was watching what is now known as A New Hope on VHS, and I just remember thinking like, this is gonna be my personality. Like I could tell, right? My imposter syndrome is gonna be based on this specifically. And I just the scene that I always remember first when I think about Star Wars is like them in the trash compactor, and I'm just like, I feel like we could get out of this. I don't know, like I'm 4. But I feel like we can get out of this. I don't know.
It's like when people post those memes that are like, oh, a comet's coming for Earth. Like, what would you do? And they'd be like, I don't know about you, but I'm just built different.
Right? Like...
She said that hatch up there looks reachable.
I just feel like if we just stayed on Chewbacca,
we stack on each other's shoulders. We could get to that though.
Because Leia calling Luke short, like he wasn't that short. Like we really could have did something. Like Harrison Ford is a fucking giant. I don't know if anybody knows that. So it's just like, I feel like 2 of us could have really made it happen. So yeah, a new
or that pole that
the pole they kept saying wasn't strong, but it never bent.
Could have leaned it on some shit and climbed up it, shimmied up that thing.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely that, and I definitely feel like Star Wars is like one of the main reasons why I'm gay, because like Luke and Leia were like doing it for me. I was like, no, I feel it. I feel something. I feel a little tingly around both of them. I don't know what that's about.
Sexual awakening.
Yeah, so it's my
twin cest, a Star Wars thing.
Yeah, A New Hope was my thing, and I love Star Wars ever since then. So.
Okay, the next question is, who is your favorite character? Although I think you just gave us 2. So.
Oh no, those aren't my favorites. No, those are just the ones that was, I would do. It doesn't mean they're my favorites. Like, you can have sex with people you don't like. Just saying. I'm here to tell the kids that now. My favorite character has always been Qui-Gon. I've always thought he was cooler, and again, because I always felt like Qui-Gon was a Greysider, I just felt like it's Liam Neeson. He's fucking like, I don't know what to tell, but
sounds like Yali's coming on to the Tales of the Jedi recap when we do it.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Qui-Gon was always my favorite, but like before Qui-Gon, I was a big Chewbacca fan. I just felt like Chewie always got it done. He didn't have magic. He didn't have a fancy sword. He just had brute strength and good hair and
a crossbow gun.
But he always got it done, and everyone always relied on him. And he was just like, the idea of a superhero has always been like someone who's good looking or some shit like that. And like, I'm not saying that Chewie is ugly, but he's not like the cutest dog in the land. You know what I mean? But the idea that but the idea that a hero can look,
he's a dog.
A hero could be not the typical blonde, blue-eyed, or whatever. It doesn't have to be person. A hero isn't anyone. So I always liked that Chewbacca was always around to just get shit done, and everyone was always like, "Oh, Chewie a guy." Like even when Lando was like, "Oh, Chewbacca," it's like, okay, everybody knows that Chewie is the shit. Okay, so Chewie,
yeah, man around town.
yeah, everybody loved Chewie. So definitely.
Very unsung hero. I think. I love the answers. Definitely different. I wasn't expecting them, but I'm glad you said them. So.
You were surprised that I wouldn't say fucking? Like, that's weird. You know,
I guess
I'm just basically girl Matt. So
I didn't think your first thing would be like, yeah, I'm fucking Liam Neeson. So Qui-Gon.
Have you seen Liam Neeson?
Yeah, he has a very particular set of skills. And
that voice, shit.
It's a beautiful man.
Quivering.
All right, and the final question. What is your favorite piece of Star Wars content? Whether it be a book, video game, comic, movie, obviously, or TV show. I know it's hard to narrow it down, but what to you is your favorite? Like, what is one of those things that's like, it's very special to me, and it holds that place in your heart where it's like,
I'm gonna have to say,
watch one Star Wars. What would it be?
I would have to say the Duel of the Fate scene from Phantom Menace is like my favorite Star Wars thing of all time. I feel like it's the best Star Wars thing ever. It really encapsulates the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then the Jedi with the Sith. Like, it tells a bigger story in just like maybe like 4 or 5 minutes that it took, and I'll never forget the lasers go up and like Maul is like a fucking tiger just waiting on him, and Qui-Gon's like, I don't give a fuck, and Obi-Wan's panicking, and it's just like it told so much in like just 4 minutes, and like damn does it help to have a beautiful ass score in the background giving you like so much anxiety, and it's just one of the greatest scenes of like in cinema. Like I always since my job, I started out as like a reviewer for films and stuff like that. Like people always ask me like, what's your favorite thing in cinema? I always say Duel of the Fates, because I feel like it did so much in 4 minutes. And if the prequels gave us anything, it gave us that scene. And I can't even think of another scene that like tops how fucking good that is. It's just like
Battle of Heroes was my shit.
I love Battle of Heroes, but Duel of Fates.
Duel of the Fates is like
it's arguably the best score that John Williams has ever written.
I don't know, bro. The Battle of Heroes song it just means something to me.
No, same. Like to me, that's like my favorite. But I definitely feel like the Duel of Fates. It deserves and gets its flowers. But Yali, based off of that, I have to ask you: have you heard Dave Filoni's like speech about that fight and what it like means for the Star Wars saga?
I've heard about it. I haven't heard him heard it in its entirety, but
you have to listen.
But I'm sure he agrees with me.
Trust me, you will. I feel like I've had such a large appreciation for it before I heard it, and then I was like, wow, this is one of the greatest things in Star Wars.
It is. It really is. And
I think it's the second episode of Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, where they're having like a round table discussion, and he just goes off. You can actually probably just type in Dave Filoni.
Yeah, I'll probably just look. I don't want to watch the whole thing.
But like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but
I'm expecting messages from you after you watch it.
Oh no, trust me, it's just. And also, like, I know what people are like, oh, but they got rid of Darth Maul. But, like, what a way to fucking go. Like, what are, like...
and they did.
They didn't kill him anyway. But
he was in so much
No one's ever really gone.
No, but the thing is, like, there's so many characters in Star Wars who get, like, not so great deaths. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go, that's it. Like, it's perfect. Like, it's,
he got 2 great deaths.
He did.
Right.
Yes, he did.
Oh, man.
And he got 2. Many reveals. He got many reveals. That Maul.
Many reveals. He got mad wardrobe changes.
Yeah. Obi only has the darker one and then the lighter one. That's it. But Maul, he got winter, summer, spring, whatever the seasons are like out there.
I got robot legs for every season.
He got the I'm broke robot legs. He got the I'm rich robot legs.
Mm-hmm.
He got the my brother hooked me up robot legs.
He said I'm like a foot taller robot legs.
Yeah, like Maul was out here living his best fucking life. So yeah.
He said I got my staff lightsaber, my casual lightsaber, my revenge lightsaber.
but if I could add one thing, if I could add one thing, in Obi-Wan, the scene where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought each other for that last time, where Darth Vader, I cried so hard because it was just like, and I think I said in our reaction, like it gave them the opportunity to move on from who they used to be, so that when they meet each other again, they could just do the damn thing and not have to worry about how they feel about each other. And I was just in full-blooded tears. I was just like, this is Star Wars. This is what it's about. You know, the fights and the brother, and it had the same kind of like musicality, like this constant tension because the music is rising, and they're just like, oh my god, stuff is happening, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So that'd be definitely second. But
they like don't give you time to deal with your emotions.
No, it's just like everything is like, how am I supposed to feel? I'm just like, I'll just cry because I think that's what I'm supposed to do anyways. So that's what I did.
My only issue with that scene is I loved literally 99% of that. I hate the one line of Anakin Darth saying like, "Oh, I'm not your failure." Like I hate.
But it's true though.
No, I get it, but like I don't like that Darth Vader's like giving Obi-Wan a cathartic moment, like that he was like.
But it wasn't.
He's
it's
being
Anakin giving it to him. It's Anakin.
Yeah,
it's Anakin's one last gift to Obi-Wan to say like.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like that part. I don't like that. I know he gets redeemed, but I'm a big stickler about like let bad people be bad sometimes.
But I think he
like,
is being bad in that moment. He's like fully committing to being Vader in that moment. When he says, "I'm not your failure," it's not coming from a place of giving Obi-Wan closure. It's coming from a place of being like, "Fuck you!" Like I'm not.
Oh, like I did this.
Yeah,
you ain't do this.
I'm not what you think I am.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he
was already killing the women and the children before he was, on the dark side. Anyway,
he's telling Ben like I'm the monster. I'm the monster.
Yeah.
I'm the one who knocks. Essentially, that was Vader's.
But it's still, even regardless how you see it, it's still closure because even in that moment, it lets Obi-Wan be like, "That's not Anakin. It's Vader from now on, and anytime I see him, it's Vader from now." It's the closure, however you look at it.
You putting it like that does make me look at it, because I always saw it as like him saying like, "Yo, bro, stop stressing. You didn't do this. I did this." But you saying it like that now does make me look at it like he's so full of himself that he didn't even want to give Obi-Wan that victory. He's like, "Nope, you can't have that. You didn't kill me. No. I killed me.
I killed me, actually.
You ain't killed me. I killed me."
That's why he's screaming his name as he leaves.
Obi-Wan! I got chills during that scene. I was just like...
he was like, "Damn, rude. I wasn't done talking."
Come back. I have more speech to tell you.
He said, bro, I ain't seen you in 10 years. We got some catching up to do. We got some catching up to do, bro.
I see both our skin routines are ass.
That darn Qui-Gon took it to his grave.
He said, "You still not fucking? You still not fucking?"
What do you do that
over here?
How do you go?
That's what he wanted to ask him.
So Captain Andor's sister is still out here giving out that vibe. If you're interested,
he said, Ben, he's like, "If you fucking there, I know somebody." He's like, "I can't do it. I gotta live through you, bro."
Well, Team Two Box, we have reached the end of.
First of all, Obi-Wan confirmed that there are prostitutes because there was a prostitute barge that Layla saw leave off her planet. So let's not act like we don't know that prostitutes exist in this bitch. Book of Boba Fett prostitutes. There's prostitution all over the place. Like, So
Tatooine is a prostitute hotbed.
Exactly. Like, why would the Jedi think that they're not gonna be out here fucking? There's a brothel right next to the temple. Like, bro, what do you think is happening?
Watch Andor's sister be on Tatooine. Watch her ass right on Tatooine, and Mos ass was twerking for some blue juice.
You got any death sticks? Yes, I do.
You got any death sticks?
She got that. She's gonna get that Snoke.
She's gonna get that Snoke.
She won all
that Snoke.
She won all.
Anyway.
All right. Anyways, this has been Chapter 19, Mando Season 3 recap. I have been your host, Mikey, here with Matt, and thank you, Yali, for joining us. Let's tell everybody where you can find them. You can obviously find me here on Annie, Are You Okay? And on Instagram, Mikey_the illest, where all I do is talk about our podcast endeavors. Speaking of which, we are all a part of the Dragon Ball for Life family, so please check us out at @DB4L_pod. I'm going to plug it here because I forgot last week and Matt saved my ass, but Cospalooza is coming up. It is a big event that we're putting together with Riot Nerd at Milk Boy is it Chestnut Street in Philly?
Chestnut
right.
Street, South Philly. I almost said South Philly. I don't know why
South
Chestnut Street, South Philly.
It is a cosplay encouraged
Chestnut Street.
dance party. It is, I think, 21 and older, and we encourage you to, if you're in the Philly area, come dress up, be your favorite anime character, Star Wars, Marvel, we don't care. Come enjoy the atmosphere, lots of fun, drinks, and we're gonna have a blast out there. But Yali and Matt, please tell them where they can find you, and plug anything you feel free to have going on. Go ahead.
I will let young Miss Yali go last, since you are the guest. You can pretty much find me in all the same places you can find Mikey. You can find me here on the Annie Are You Okay podcast. You can also find me on the DB4L podcast, which, like Mikey said, is DB4L_pod. If you want to look up my personal shit, I'm _menace2sobriety. That is the number 2, not spelled out. And Cospalooza, April 22nd. April 22nd. Get your tickets now. The link is in the bio on the DB4L pod page. It is also in the bio on my page, which is the _menace2sobriety. And we post about it literally all the time. So you will not know where to get your tickets. So get them tickets.
And I am your resident contrarian. My family called me the pervy sage. If you didn't know why, you do know now.
Yeah.
I have one priority, and it is what it is. You can find me. I only have Instagram. It's beautifully _Yali, YALI, where I post pictures of my face and of my demon dog Titan. I talk about DB4L, Annie, are you okay? I also work for the Game Hers as their social media manager and marketing, and we got like some cool tournaments coming up with Benefit Cosmetics, with the Cleveland Browns. We're working with them. We got a music concert series that Natanya was on. She was amazing. We got more of that coming up. So support the Game Hers. It helps my paycheck out a lot. And
Hey.
I'm glad to be here to just represent for all of us gay, queer, girly nerds who like Star Wars is the shit. And I'm glad to be here. Also, Team 2 Box. You can't stop me, Kyle.
Team 2 Box.
Team 2 Box will never die.
Well, if you're bringing them up, tell them about your reactions to.
Oh, also, you can watch me cry for 20 minutes as I react to The Mandalorian. Literally, I just cry the entire time. So if you want to see me cry this time, then go over to Phantom Spotlight on YouTube, and that's where I'm at. And check out Phantom Spotlight because Matt and Mikey be there too, and nothing but love for all the writers over there at Phantom Spotlight. And yeah,
We were wild.
we're here. We here.
Team 2 Box.
Team
coming
two
Box.
coming together.
coming together.
That means 2 things from Team 2 Box, and we are out. Deuces.
Peace out.
Pew, pew, pew.